Welcome back to Talking with Teri TV. I'm your host, Teri Cardula, and on today's episode, you might as well just buckle in because you are going to be in for a treat with this guest today. She's going to blow the socks off of you. All right, my friends, our guest today is Deb Drummond. Did I say that right?
You did.
Okay, perfect. She is a pioneer in the world of entrepreneurship. She's an accredited health educator, ultrapreneur, which I'm going to find out a little bit more about what that means, international top performance speaker, #1 best-selling author, and founder of Mission Accepted Media. She's the founder and visionary behind the Show Up, Stand Up, Speak Up, Yes, You, reaching 350 million people, women across the globe. And she's also been recognized in Success Magazine's 48 different times. Hello. She's won numerous awards for her accolades in personal development and business achievement. And, here's the most exciting news that she has, and I'm going to have her share more about this, but her project and her book is being gifted to all of the celebrities at the 2024 Emmys in LA. And, one of the things that she loves more than just rocking stages is changing lives, is being a mom to her son and daughter, and Yaya to her precious grandbabies. Oh my goodness. Deb, welcome to the show.
Holy oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. Look at you.
Oh my gosh.
Rock star.
Oh my gosh. All right. So, I'm going to invite you to share some behind the scenes here. But before we get started, I just want to say that you really walk the walk. We just met each other and I feel like we've become fast friends in like a short amount of time. And what I love about you is I got introduced to you. You took time out of an event that she was planning, folks. Okay. And anyone who's done events knows what that week and week after looks like and feels like. She took it the day before. Okay. And not only that, have just like, let's connect, let's create, and you really, truly are one of those people that walk the walk. And I just want to just acknowledge that because I have been around a lot of incredible human beings doing incredible things. And I have not necessarily felt the way that I feel with you in really just walking the walk. And I want you to know that I see you and I'm excited for you to share your words of wisdom with our audience today. So.
Okay, now first I gotta just stop because I haven't had that kind of introduction. Maybe not ever. I've had nice compliments and thank you cards and I do the same, but thank you. That's so kind of you to say that. I really appreciate that. I really do. Thank you.
So tell us, for folks that don't know you yet, really just tell us the behind the scenes, your story to your success story journey. I'm going to say journey because it's always growing and evolving here. But yeah, just bring us up to speed how you got to here, how you are today.
Yeah, well, okay, so I'm going into my 32nd year of entrepreneurship. So that's a pretty long journey that I'm going to give you in a couple of minutes. But I literally started, I believe I always had a zest for business and entrepreneurship. And I'll tell you where. I was 8 years old and I wasn't at a lemonade stand. My mother needed money. My dad left and back then there wasn't anything called child support per se, and she needed money. And so she joined a direct sales company, a home party company, and she dragged me along to these parties. And the first party was my aunt's across the street because we talked to our friends first, right? So we went to my aunt's house across the street and I literally sat there at 8 years old and I watched what I now call the circle of commerce. And it was women that were gathering, talking about things, Teri, I probably wasn't supposed to be listening to, and eating things that my mom couldn't say no to. But I saw this transaction happen where women were super happy supporting and my mom was happy gifting. Like it was just this back and forth. And it made an impression upon me. Then I went into my own life, my own journey, and I ended up in the music industry and I had an epiphany at one point. Like seriously, it was kind of like that moment that just told me I needed to shift. Here's very interesting. It may not be really easy to follow, but I know that there'll be a group of people that understand this. I literally got a non-negotiable message that I needed to change the direction of my life. It was non-negotiable. And without knowing my next day of where my paycheck was going to come from, I let go of the job that I had working for the club. And they're like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. And I think that was my first, I'm going to start this in my business plan, there seems to be like this faith program, and not faith like I was full of it, faith like I had my back against the wall and I'd rather jump than not jump. Like it was more painless to jump than stay where I was. And then as I started to mature and things started to get more successful, the downloads per se were not as difficult to take because I'd had a history of it. But I just finished talking to you earlier. I mean, full transparency, is that, yeah, we're heading to the Emmys. And so is my son.
Yeah.
Right. So is my son, he's 20. So he's not funding it himself. And I told you, I'm like, well, when these opportunities come up, sometimes I said, I'm on the faith program because I shared with you the cost it was going to take just for him to do his giveaway. And I'm like, well, you know what I mean? I'm back on the faith program. So, from music to alternative health back, honestly, a while ago, a number of decades ago, no one knew what health was or yoga or aromatherapy. And I created a whole career in that and speaking in that. And then I created 2 direct sales companies, taking them across Canada because I'm a formulator, and 300 natural products when no one even knew what aromatherapy or a soya candle was. We were the first one in our country to bring in a soya candle. They're like, what's this? And then I got like another download and I got inspired to take that global and international with someone else's company. And then I got this message that I needed to create platforms for my fellow entrepreneurs that I had been coaching for a long time, right? I've been a top performance coach for a long time. And it's very weird. People call me a professional hippie. So I'm truly a hippie. I love it. Got a Janis Joplin poster in the back, but my brain works like a Rubik's Cube. So I've built 7 international companies, and it's maybe not so normal, but it allows me to be able to help other people top perform, particularly my fellow creatives and entrepreneurs that really just want to do their thing. So I know that sounds like I bounced around a lot, but I think through it is a base of faith, and through it is a base of servant leadership.
Wow, powerful. I love this. Well, and I love the fact that you're talking about like this being tapped in and tuned in and turned on to your spiritual side, your faith-based place, because I think so many entrepreneurs, we go into the grind and we think we have to control things. We have to, there's some grit to that. But when we combine that with that element of faith and being able to be receptive to the downloads, the awarenesses, the insights that we have, and even if they don't make sense, because I was sharing with you on another call, I'm getting all these downloads that I'm like, I don't know, quote, the how it's going to happen, but I'm just going to get on the faith wagon with you and just know that it's going to happen when it's time, when the timing is right, right?
And, it was only in retrospect. So to be honest with you, I wasn't raised in a faith-based home. I didn't understand. I never even heard the word God. My girlfriend asked me, hey, do you want to go to the church with me one day? And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, the bus driver gives ice cream. I'm like, sign me up. Sign me up. And I went to my first church, and I'm not necessarily talking about that kind of faith, even though I have that faith today. I remember when I got my first, altar, like you're not going back. I mean, I'm going to tell you, we were rocking it. It was the 80s. It was music. It was club. It was fun. I mean, my boss said to me, can you cash your paycheck? You haven't cashed your paycheck in 6 months, because the money was just so abundant from tips and offers. And so when I had that message to leave that industry, it was like urge, you know what I mean? And it was literally within 24 hours. So I did not have a faith-based faith. I felt like I had no choice. And when I went back, looked at it in my latter life, I was like, that was a calling. That was a calling. And then they became more clear. And it's interesting, right? It's interesting. So I had faith before I had faith. I don't know how to put that verse. So if someone's out there going, yeah, but I don't have a faith, as you may perceive me talking about, it really was a non-negotiable message that I now look back in my life.
It's almost like a faith within yourself, right? Like it's just like this inner knowing that I got this. Like I'm feeling like I'm supported and I got this. One of the things that I just recently saw and I heard and I thought it was brilliant. So some eagles live up to about 70 years old. Well, after 40 years, their beak becomes not effective and their claws become dull. And so around 40 years-ish, they have a choice to make. They can choose to die because they would be no longer the predator, right? Or they have the choice to fly up to the mountains. They break their beak off so a new one can grow in. And then when that new beak grows in, they have the strength to rip out their claws that are no longer effective and they grow new ones, and then they rip out their feathers so that the new feathers can come in that gives them the strength to fly and everything. And I'm like, it just takes about 150 days. So like 4.5 months, if you think about this transition. And so I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there. I know I'm in this bucket. When I say this, is that we are shedding the old and we are making the choice to say, okay, this old no longer serves us. We get to embrace the new. And even if we don't understand or know what that new is going to look like, we're all going through this transformation. When I heard that story about the eagle, and I'm like, wow, that feels like it, because it's a painful process. It's a painful process of really truly choosing to do something that you have no flippant idea in some regards, until it gets shown to you, until you're like, okay, yes. And we can struggle against it, right? We can yeah, get to that place where we don't feel, we've lost faith in ourselves or that hope or whatever. But it's like enduring that process to be able to say, yes, I got this, I can do this, and I'm just going to trust the process.
There's a saying that I used to say, because a lot of people would come up to me and they're like, I'm in a job, but I don't like it. Or I'm in a job that I love. It helps, it takes care of my family. I'm financially tied. I get medical, dental, whatever it is, but I have this yearning inside. Right. And so I say to people, like, pick your heart, pick your heart. Like, it would be hard for me to be at a job that I wasn't fully satisfied. It would be hard for me to be working when I know that my dream is tick-tocking over here. Like, you want to say TikTok in a different way, like the clock's going tick-tock. That would be hard for me. Or it would be hard for me to be in an office where I didn't feel valued. Or it'd be hard for me to be in an office where I'd have to avoid a couple of people I work with during the day because we just don't jive. So that's hard, or this is hard. This is hard. You have to find new skills. You have to build new this. You've got to, eat rice and peas sometimes. Like, seriously, like people I'm like, it's a journey, as you know. So, oh, you're going to take on this project. Okay, guess what? It's rice and peas time. And we have that saying in our house. So pick your heart. Yeah. Pick your heart, pick your joy, pick your passion, pick your whatever. But it's hard being in a place that you're not happy, and it's hard building a new one. So just pick your heart.
Yeah. I love it. Well, speaking of taking big risks, I see you as taking big risks.
I laugh.
In your life. And, again, some of these risks are ones that have, a huge payoff. And sometimes the risks that we take have huge lessons that we've learned, and that learning cannot come any other way for us and through us. And so in conversations before, we had talked about, I'd love for you to tell the story about how your daughter's father reacted when you paid your first business visa bill.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my very first business. So my first business was in holistic health, and I fell in love with massage. The second day I took my class, which came from me going to a muffin shop and seeing a pink flyer. Anyways, my body just tingled. And I'm like, I'm going to do this the rest of my day. My first business plan was grabbing a piece of paper, 8.5 by 11. If I massage this many people, charge this much, this is how much I'll make. That was my first business plan. I was pregnant with my daughter, and I'm not talking just pregnant. I mean, I was like on my last trimester. So, do you know what I mean? So I started to put my business together. I posted flyers around our city to the point where our city called me and said, please stop. Your flyer. My first, social media campaign was polls. Okay. So I'm tying it around, and my visa bill came in. The visa bill came in, and because I bought some advertising. Now we're talking, my daughter's 31. So you know what I mean? I was pregnant with her. So my first visa bill was like $150 or something. And I had not done a massage, and I hadn't charged anything. And her dad was like, I don't like massage, don't massage me and practice on me. It was like painful for him. And he was like, we got this visa bill. And he's like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm going to pay it. And he's like, you don't have any money. I'm like, watch. And so I wrote a check, put it in the mail with a stamp, which is what we did when we paid visa bills. And he almost lost his mind. He's like, you are not taking it to the mailbox. I'm like, I'm taking it to the mailbox. He's like, we don't have any money, and it's going to bounce, and da 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 da. And I'm like, we are going to make sure it's going to happen. And honestly, it was like, it was tension. And so I marched myself to the post office and I put it in. And I've never not been able to pay my visa ever since. And I've done that many times with more zeros. So that was one of my first faiths, and I don't know where I got the gumption, but the madder he got, the more gumption I got, and
Yeah.
I just didn't have the money, but I paid it on faith. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. What a great way to, embrace the faith
Mhm.
and hold that space, right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when we're up to that place where we don't know how it's going to work, and I always say, the how is not up to us, so if I just let go of the how, it's going to get paid, or the how or whatever,
Mhm.
it will get taken care of, right?
Mhm.
So I love it. So speaking of, I mean, you are creating this really powerful empire, and your impact is just, I mean, is far reaching to begin with, but yet what you're creating in the next 5 years, I can't even wait for you to unpack this with everyone. But what would you say is the conversation over application that you have?
Right. So we have a philosophy here, and it's a philosophy that we really hold to. Now, look, you're a speaker, I'm a speaker. There's many times where they like fill out the application, right? And that's fine. That I have, it's nothing against how people do their businesses or their systems or their application or their vetting or what have you. But people say, how has this become so successful? How did this project get bigger than you? How did this happen? And I really think it was the philosophy of conversation over application. Now I got to tell you, it takes some duration, and it's going to take some extra time, and it's going to take some extra effort for sure to do this. We had 440 speakers. So you know what, when someone says, yeah, but I've got 100 speakers, I'm like, well, you know what, go cry to somebody else, because it is possible, because I did it. And so we had 440 speakers on 22 summits in 15 months, and then 262 women recognized in the book. Now, some of the speakers were in the book, so the conversations could happen at the same time. But when someone said, hey, I know somebody, what can I send them? What they sent them was some information, maybe a video. I said, just connect us. Just connect us. Put us in text. If you know me, I don't do email. Well, I do half an hour a day. So good luck if you want more than that. So, I just said, put us together. And they're like, you don't want me to send them a link to go sign up? And I said, no, because I don't know who they are, and they don't know who I are. And I think it's a cross vetting conversation. Like, we have this incredible movement that, I mean, I couldn't stop if I wanted to. Now we're 2.0. Now we're doing another 220 speaking spots. We're doing it over the course of a year, and we're starting a 5-year book tour and all of these incredible things. And there's this movement that's built. Why? Because there's a deep connection. If they didn't resonate to what I was saying, like if they didn't believe in solidarity, or if they weren't part of wanting to share International Women's Day globally, if that wasn't their mission, or they didn't resonate to it, then they're not going to play with us. And that's cool, and that's fine. We also have a very giving, what's called a, soulpreneur sisterhood. That's what they call themselves. They do this thing called the Millionaire Girl Guide Summer Camp, and it's to support sustainable soulpreneur sisterhood, right? And there's these meetings of everyone getting together and being very giving based, and then the receiving has been off the charts, as you know that philosophy. So because of all that, I wanted to meet people. I'm like, you're going to be in the summit, I want to know who you are. And if you're not going to be in the summit, if you're not going to be with us, there's things that I'm sure we're attracted for a reason. There's someone I need to tell you, or you need to tell me about something, or something magical is going to happen in the conversation. So I know that people don't have hours and hours and hours to meet with people, but I think that's the difference in terms of the experience, the resonance, and why we call our spots media spots. Like, it's an encompassing experience with us. You may just come with us, speak once because you want the media badges, that's cool. But if you're speaking once, there's still a resonating. You're still like, this is cool, I believe in this, and then off you go. And we've given you media badges to help propel you.
Right.
So that's the conversation over application. It takes time, it takes energy, but it is really quality. It's a quality result versus a quantity result.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Well, and I think too, you're right. It does take time and
Oh yeah.
energy to do this. But if you think about it, the far-reaching impact you have now, I mean, those 226 women, or 262 women, right? It's 262. Yeah.
Yeah.
262, they know, on average, the average person, Joe Schmo on the street, knows 250 people. Well-networked women, I know they know at least 1,000. Well-influenced women know millions of people, right? Like, and it just has that ripple effect, and it doesn't require much. But gosh, when you deposit in, you have deposited into me. I have felt it. And I am like, wow. I just opened up my Rolodex. We were flying to Mexico, and Mary and I were sitting on the plane, and I was just like, who do we know that I can introduce Deb to? And our list, I haven't counted it up. It's easily 25 people that I'm like, these are badass women. These need to know this badass woman, and I'm going to connect, right? And so that is the power of that, because you poured into me. You have just amplified that result more than 10x, right?
Well, and I think that's the beauty of it. So, for example, we do this. They're called ask parties, right? So everyone in our organization gets together and they make a request once a month. Like, this is going to change my life, or my personal life, or my kid's life, or my spouse's life. This is my ask. And women go, right? Same as like, okay, look at pre-show. I just came off a call with a super cool woman. Honestly, I mean, probably the most powerful women that I know in organizations at the United Nations for women. And what did I say to you? You have to meet this woman. Once she finishes moving, I'm going to connect you to her. Why? Because I've taken the time to get to know you.
Yeah.
And really, I think that I know that we can't do that with everybody, but you'd be surprised how you can. You'd be surprised at how you can fit it in a 15 or 20 minute. And as you start to do that, so we continue to get together because we just had that connection. You said something that made me say, oh, I so know that one, sister. And let's hang, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think, so, yeah. And think about the time we are in cars, we're in, that time.
Yeah.
Those can be those connection call time, And so you're right. Like, it doesn't require it's what you make a priority, right? At the end of the day, what do you make what do you make a priority with? And there you go, right?
Yes.
So it's powerful. So you've done such an incredible, job of creating this ripple effect, and you are really bringing in a movement. And I've seen that there's a viral video that has gone, and you've probably seen it too. And they're having they're taking a video of these people at a band in a park, and this one guy gets up, and everyone's sitting down. This one guy gets up, he starts dancing, kind of, a little crazy dance, right?
Yeah.
And then pretty soon another person comes and joins them, total random person, right? And then at some point they have this entire, huge section of people dancing. That one person made the choice to stand up. That one person made the choice to do him, be authentic. He didn't realize what he was creating was this huge movement, right? And I think that's the power of engaging people, pouring into people, because that is invaluable in creating a movement.
It's interesting because this movement, I mean, you could see it moving along, and then all of a sudden I remember waking up one morning and going, with or without me, this movement is happening, and making that redecision to add some additional things, bring a business partner into the project, and like, okay, here we are, right? This was the staying up late, this was the getting up early, this is what happened. And I watched the video. I know that video, I've had it sent to me, and people could send it to me a million times, and I love it because when he is dancing, it's obscure. So the people that are watching are like, I like to dance, but he's just kind of going out there a little bit. And then someone decided to join with the out there, right? And then those are the forefathers, those are the people that are willing to do stuff when people are thinking what they're thinking, right? And those are the people that are willing to do it. They're kind of like they're the ones in the arena, right? They're the ones that got out of the audience and went into the arena. If you take, the Roosevelt, prows, or what Brene Brown talks about, right? And they were willing to have people say what they say, like, what an idiot, or what's going on, or that guy must be drunk, or whatever it is that they thought. Right. And then came people, because I think what people do when they stand out is they give allowance. Like there's things going on for people, and they give allowance and they give a platform. I mean, honestly, when people are like, why do you do this? Right. And I'm like, because first of all, it was a divine message, but it was creating a platform where other people feel safe. They don't have to break barriers. They can join and break their own barrier. And honestly, they'll go start their own thing or gig or what have you. Or maybe it's not their dharma. Maybe it's not their purpose. Maybe they are supposed to support. I always say, like, when you see a man or a woman out there doing something that's pretty considerable, don't ask them how they did it. Just go ask them how you can support them to keep doing it. because it tends to be a
That's
solo
so
risk.
good. That is so good. That is
Yeah,
so
that's
good.
a drop, right? Like, don't, oh,
Yeah.
how did you do it? Just go, how can I help you? And I'll do the same thing. I just had a conversation, right? And I saw Gloria Steinem's, I was looking at Gloria Steinem's stuff and I'm like, she only has 233 followers. And I was losing my mind talking to Kathy, who I'm going to put you together with. And I go, how is it possible? She only has 233,000. I mean, this is a woman. And if you don't know Gloria Steinem, so she's pretty considerable in the women's rights movement. And her face drops and she goes, I know the editor of Miss Magazine that knows Gloria. I go, Gloria sends us a quote every year. And I'm like, I'm in media, for crying out loud. Get me in front of the editor. I will do it for free. That woman should have millions, right? And she's, at the crone stage of her career. I'm like, let's crone. And so I didn't start Gloria Steinem's movement by any sense, right? But
Yeah.
I can go participate and help her do what she's doing.
Yeah. And I think I think a lot of women, and I know that I attract women, I call them the creative visionaries. They are the women that know in their heart of hearts they are supposed to be doing something big, right? And they are they have in their desire is to create those movements. Their desire is to create those empires of impact, right? And so what would you say besides those courageous conversations and fostering those relationships, what would you say to other entrepreneurs out there that says, yes, I want to have a bigger impact? How do I do that? How do I go about? What are some things that you have found that have worked, maybe have not worked, that have really allowed you to move the dial forward in creating your success story?
Okay. So this is going to sound super unfun and this is going to sound super unsexy. Straight up. I tell people what I do is super unfun and super, super not sexy. You cannot go into a formula. You can have a download. You can come to you in a dream. It can come to you as you're meditating. A book can fall out at you and you could know without a shadow of a doubt. You could see someone speaking. You're like, I want to do that. I want to have a movement. I want to have a following. You could have your back against the wall financially and go, I can't solopreneur anymore. I have to go into group. I have to multiply myself. I have to share my message. Whatever your awakening is, cool. Every awakening needs a business formula. I'm sorry, it's not sexy. Like when we break it down, I just was talking to a woman yesterday, probably one of the most powerful intuitives I know, right? And I'm like, okay, we need to figure out what you're going to do in your third quarter. And the glaze comes on. I'm like, don't worry, I'll help you. Don't worry, I'll do it. So infrastructure, take the time to start running it and finding out how much it's going to cost, what it's going to do. Second thing that people do that is, I'm not going to say it's a mistake. I'm going to say it's an assumed mistake. So they're like, okay, I'm going to go into social media. I'm going to go into this summit. I'm going to go into this podcast. I'm going to do all these things. And I'm going to talk about my movement, my project, my this. And then they leave it there. When you decide to make a marketing decision, you have to figure out what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, and your return most of the time is not for 2 to 3 months, right? So you have to plan your marketing and you have to media your marketing. So we're going to do a podcast. You're going to give it to me. Awesome. I could send it on my Facebook once and they complain that no one ever calls me from podcasts. Or I could tell my audience, I could take a picture of us, send it out and go, I can't wait for this show to release. We talked about things, da, 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 da. And then I can put it on all of my things. I can put it on Facebook like 8 times in 8 weeks. And people are like, oh, what are you doing? People are going to get sick of seeing it. I'm like, what? The 15% of people and the 3% of people that stopped eating their lunch to watch it? Like, are you kidding? So you always have to market. You have to media your marketing to get the results that you're hoping to get. And so infrastructure, may not sound like fun, but it's fun when you realize the impact. Keep your eye on the prize, which is your impact, and do that work and don't do it alone. God have mercy, don't do it alone. Call in experts. Even if you just have to pay them for their 2 or 3 hours. I just need you for 3 hours to tell me this. I need a CFO to look at my numbers. You don't have to hire a CFO. They're called fractional. You can pay 3 hours for their time and then get your infrastructure, and then you will feel more competent and you won't get hit down the road. Because when you start to hit and this project starts to go and you get people calling you from Kenya wanting to be on your show, you're like, okay, here we are. And how am I going to do that? How am I going to price it? How am I going to market it? And then you won't get caught behind the dollar either, because people tend to charge less than what they need to charge because they don't really know their numbers. And so we get scared and we compromise and we do all sorts of funky things. Or maybe you overshoot. I've had people, I go, so what do you, how much is it? Okay. And what do you get? And I'm like, that's not really, that's overshooting. You know what I mean? So there you go. Just came out. I don't know if the right answer was for the right person in there, but infrastructure.
Yeah. Well, and it's also too, it's focusing on the fundamentals, right? We've got to go back to the basics and make sure that the basics are in line, because we cannot scale and we cannot grow if we don't have the systems and structure in place for that bigger growth, you know?
Yeah. And if you don't, so, when I work with people and their projections, they're like, I don't know. I go, we have to do a guesstimate.
Yeah.
You don't, I don't know is not a fiscal term. It's not a
Right.
business term. It's not a fiscal term. Now that decision can change in 24 hours. You get a
Yeah.
call from the Emmys. You get a call from this. You get a call from someone who wants to order 20 of them from Dubai. You get someone that wants you to come and speak at Microsoft to 500 people and you don't have a package for that. It's okay. We always have 24 hours to change any decision that we've made.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. All right. So I could sit here and speak
Yeah,
to you
I know.
all
We could talk all
day.
day.
Let me ask you this. Where can people get behind you and get behind supporting other women? Because when you and I had a really powerful conversation one day, and I said, I got to find women that are willing to support other women, because there's a lot of women out there that are doing some incredible things, and yet we get siloed and only focusing on us and only focusing on what we can do for ourselves, and realizing that you can be a part of really the law of attraction, really attracting in other women that have similar audiences, that have similar ways in which we can support and collaborate and connect, and we together make a ripple effect. And so I would love to hear from you. How can people support your project? How can they support what you're doing? And also drop in there, the best way for them to reach out to you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for asking. What a great opportunity. So to support this project, so this project is a free access, world global free access to any woman and those that support women that want to come hear the speakers, right? Hear the speakers. And so we ask for anyone who'd like to speak. You have a message, you want to be heard, you've got a project, you've got a business, you've got a profit, you've got a nonprofit. We have 220 spots that we just opened up for conversation for our summit speaking, and it's incredible. And it's televised and all sorts of cool things. I would say, as soon as I say televised, people go, ooh, not for me. I see there's a celebrity on there. They're like, ooh, not for me. The reason why we said yes, you is like, if you're listening to this, yes, you. So we will coach even the newest of speaker, put you on interview style. It's live online, just like this. It's safe in the comfort of your own home. If you want to brave up and travel with us and you want to come speak live in Ireland or LA or whatever, absolutely. So when you speak and or author with us, so if you author in the book, if you author in the planner, if you do things like that, it allows the project to be sustainable. And my most famous sentence probably is a sustainable woman, and you can inject that with person, but a sustainable woman is a powerful woman, because if you are sustained, you get to say yes to things and you also get to say no to things, and you get to make decisions because you're sustained. You have the economics to be able to not make decisions you may not want to do. And that's a global piece, right? That's a global piece. So speaking with us, authoring with us, and if you want and you don't want to speak and you don't want to author, please purchase the book. There's 262 women in here that you need to know. Personally, if you're in business, this is the best. This is honestly, this is the best directory you could go and connect with women and find out what they're doing, not only to support them, but to have them know what you do. Like, they're like, oh, don't go to social media. Don't go to your LinkedIn and put in your, like, what are you doing? Go to places like this. There's women in here that are, one, powerful, willing, they're in this is all self-funding women, right? And some incredible women of history. So go buy the book, go gift the book, go give it to people for Christmas, go give it to them for their birthday. It's amazing. So I would say that, and if anyone wants to reach out to me, it's deb@debdrummond.com. My website's super easy. It's debdrummond.com. There's a contact page. You can go to 262 projects is what's people calling us. There's a whole list. Once you open up, there's the book and you can order it. And if you want to speak or you want to chat or you want to, whatever you want to do, you can go there. And then the other thing is, if you feel completely content with all of that already in your life, we do really beautiful media classes, because that's my thing. I mean, this project had 191 million media impressions, and we're going off to the Emmys. So I teach a really beautiful media class pretty well by donation. It's $1,500, and we do it by donation for $50 to go to the project. So no matter what you're doing, I can help you. Just like I was talking earlier about Gloria Steinem. So Steinem, if you're listening, call me and I'll help you. But we would just to help women be sustainable. It's not just for the women in the group, but the $50 goes to keeping this project alive, so people can come and listen to the summits for free.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Very powerful. Thank you for what you're creating. And I am so blessed and honored to be a part of your circle. And I can't wait to see what we create in the next,
I know.
6 to a year. I know there's gonna be there's juicy stuff there. All right, my friends, take a look at her website, and as always, be bold, be brave, be fearless, be the magic of you. Massive love to all of you, and we'll see you on the next episode.